Welcome, everyone, to the Ghibli Angle, the series where I introduce Alex to the wonderful world of Studio Ghibli and the creative genius of Hayao Miyazaki. This week, we're diving into My Neighbour Totoro. So far, we've seen giant insects, we've seen plenty of flying machines, castles, you name it. But this week is a pretty big one, Alex.
It's a big one, but also in terms of like how large scale the previous films have been, this is a slightly quieter affair.
Yeah. And we're going to definitely get into that smaller aspect of the movie, but I don't think any less smaller in theme. And it means a lot to a lot of people. It's imprinted on a lot of people. And, Totoro, even if you haven't seen any Ghibli films, like, you're bound to know this guy. Like, he is like the mascot of Japan, basically, in terms of like Mickey Mouse is the animation mascot for America. Totoro is sort of like that for Japan.
Yes, yeah, he is on the Studio Ghibli logo. He's your main guy. And out of the two films that I had seen prior to this series, My Neighbour Totoro was one of them. So it was a film that even I had seen.
Spirited Away being the other one.
The other one, yes.
My Neighbour Totoro follows two young sisters who move to the Japanese countryside with their father to be closer to the hospital where their mother is being treated. But there's something else at play here. While the girls wait for constant updates and news about their mother's condition, they stumble upon all manner of otherworldly creatures that live in the forest. In particular, a big, lovable creature named Totoro. So, you've seen this before. Like, this is your second time watching this film.
This is my second time watching it, though I do think it's been like a good 5-6 years since I had seen My Neighbour Totoro. And yeah, I remember liking it, but also at the same time, it's probably fair to say that between this and Spirited Away, I thought I knew what Studio Ghibli was, and I was like, oh, they're just like very kind of like almost, I don't want to say whimsical, but very kind of interested in just kind of like living in a world with lots of fantastical creatures and just kind of maybe allowing you to be more in awe of the animation. And I also assumed because of this that Studio Ghibli wasn't very story focused, which I now know from our previous episodes is not the case. And I don't know whether doing Spirited Away and My Neighbour Totoro maybe stunted my interest. Despite liking both the films, it maybe just like stunted my interest a little bit, because I was like, well, that's what everybody considers the peak of Studio Ghibli, and I liked them. That was it. So I thought anything less than this is not going to be for me. I've now found out that is not the case. And in fact, there's obviously a few different avenues we can, or a few different avenues that Hayao Miyazaki has gone down. And so far I have a new favorite. So,
Oh, what, this one?
No, sorry, not this one. I mean, like Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind is actually my favorite.
I remember seeing your prestigious 4.5 stars for that film on your Letterboxd account. So yeah, I mean, this is one that I watch, and every time I'm like, oh my god, this is I absolutely balls me over. I'm going to get out of the way instantly that I love this film, but I always forget that I love it so much. There's something, because it is so low key in how it presents its characters and its story and its themes, you kind of go away from it thinking, no, that was nice, and then you come back years later and it kind of just, that memory kind of regurgitates. So should I go a little bit into the background, I suppose, for anyone who's uninitiated? So initially, Miyazaki wanted to make a film that wouldn't just be for kids, but also touch adults in the same but elevated way. So I think you can obviously see that DNA is pretty much in every Pixar movie or anything that animation studios come out with these days. They're always trying to bridge these gaps between audiences. And I think Miyazaki's intention was probably more sincere than perhaps it is nowadays. I'm sure there's definitely outliers out there, but there's a lot of animation studios that don't, I don't think, have the best intentions coming into as maybe someone like Miyazaki does. So he based the younger sister, May, after his own niece, actually. So the film was also released the same day actually as his partner Isao Takahata's Grave of the Fireflies, which is our next film that we'll be covering.
It was a double bill, right? Am I right there?
It was, yeah, packaged as a double bill initially. And from reports I've read, people, because the movie started with Totoro and then Grave of the Fireflies came afterwards. So people pretty quickly left pretty soon into Grave of the Fireflies because obviously they just didn't want to be bummed out. They're completely,
which is what we'll be getting round to on another week.
yeah. Alex still hasn't seen it as of yet, but
no, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this one because I think this is the one that intrigues me the most. Great with Fireflies, but we'll chat about that at the end of the episode.
Yeah, and also it's a different director that you haven't seen yet, so it's going to have a different flavor. So yeah, that's kind of a brief background. This doesn't have, for how big the legacy this film is, the lore behind the scenes isn't as big as some of them. But it's been picked on and pondered all these years, and people have really imprinted onto it. I told you once that Spirited Away was my first Ghibli experience, and I actually misremembered that. Actually, this was my first Ghibli film when I was a kid. I put it on some bootleg copy on my laptop, and I think it was the dubbed Disney version I watched too. So back then, even I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the vibes and everything of it. It definitely means another whole level as an adult. But let me know what your experience of My Neighbour Totoro was, Alex. And it's a safe space. If you didn't like the film, you liked it, or you just ferment on it, it's absolutely fine.
I do like the film. I am maybe not as in love with it as a lot of people who are fans of Studio Ghibli seem to be. Out of the films we've seen so far, I wouldn't consider it the best one or anything like that. I think it's really sweet and it's really nice. We've mentioned on the podcast before, I'm more story driven, and I think there is a really good story here, and it's quite emotionally lofty. But it is still it's very, very simple. But it's short and it's simple and it's nice. I don't know why I don't fully connect with it. I like being there and seeing it. I actually watched the American dub this time just because I was very intrigued how that worked. And obviously having seen this one subbed before, I thought this is the one I can do it with. Just because I was intrigued to see how that even looked or sounded, should I say. I know how it looks. How it sounded. So I just want to say quickly about the dub. Very surprised how good the dub is. I forgot it was a foreign film.
Sure.
Whilst watching it. You aren't aware that it's being dubbed.
I think they might spend some money on reanimating the mouths so that they look a bit more natural.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So that's the big Disney budget behind it. Makes it look a bit more seamless than your average dub.
Yeah, and all the voices work. I think it's the Fanning sisters who play the two.
That's right. Yeah,
the two kids. I can't remember everybody else, but it all works. I remember from the first time watching the subbed version that Mei and Satsuki are very screechy, which they are still quite screechy in the American one.
I think they're worse in the English dub. They're more screechy.
I think they're worse in the Japanese.
Oh, really?
I didn't mind it as much this time. It was I remember their kind of high pitched screams at everything, just going straight through me when I first watched it. Not so much this time.
Sure.
I chucked on the projector, which is at the moment just the best way to watch these films. Just I'm snuggled up in bed, projecting it onto the wall. It's lovely. I'm enjoying it. The music is fantastic. All the different kind of spiritual kind of ideas behind it. It's got a nice message. I mean, maybe I don't connect with it as much because I'm not as spiritual as Miyazaki seems to be, especially within this film. This idea of don't worry, as long as you kind of trust and believe in the spirits of the forest, then everything will work out. Be good to the land, be good to the animals. Be inquisitive and happy, and things will be fine, and your mum will get better. Maybe I'm more cynical, so maybe that's why I'm not it's a nice film, but I'm not emotionally floored by it or anything like that.
Sure. I'm not sure if like he's saying that the spirits are, they're going to solve everything. I don't see Totoro and his little gang as little Mary Poppins figures that are going to
No,
like.
no.
I feel like they're more distractions for the kids.
Yes. They are, but they are there when they need them most. Like when they're lost or they're sad, they're there to help them and pick them back up again.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I guess should we get into elements of the movie then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, well, don't get me wrong. A lot of movies do achieve this, but Disney do it all the time, and so do all of Miyazaki's films to some degree. But what makes Totoro sort of special for me is that it teaches us about childlike wonder within us that can cope with everyday challenges. Totoro, the two young girls, Sasuke and Mei, their imagination seems to intertwine with the logical world that we as adults often lose touch of. We lose that sort of sense of wonderment that, compartmentalizing our lives into two separate chambers, like real and fantasy. And I think, Alex, that this film just reminded me that imagination isn't just for escapism. It's a tool for like hope and balance. So we probably do it as adults without thinking about it. When we feel like sometimes when things are overwhelming or just a little bit too much, that you revert back to the things that you love as a form of comfort, whether that's like a TV show, a book, or a place that anchors you back down again. And that's exactly what I think these two girls are going through. And I think that's just what he captures so brilliantly, is just this sort of bridge between these two worlds that maybe we as adults should give in to hope a little bit more, that we do worry too much. I find it in my own adult life that I spend way too much time thinking about the worst case scenario. And I think that's something you and I kind of share together, like talking to each other in real life, that, usually the worry doesn't justify the whole experience that comes, ultimately at the end, which is usually is okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I can jump on board the anxiety train there with you.
Yeah, I like the way the movie is like the mom. It never tells us. I don't think. Do you remember if it ever tells us why the mom is ill?
No, just that she's not well. She is trying to get better, but almost she keeps relapsing throughout the film. Mm-hmm. She can't quite make it home, and they're worried that like she's so weak that they wouldn't want anything to happen to her if she did try and go home for a little bit. And then obviously there is the moment where Sasuke kind of breaks down and says like she could die. So clearly it's a worrying illness. And when the hospital calls, obviously, both Sasuke and the father are quick to kind of answer that call. So clearly it's not a great illness.
Yeah, I think it's I think the father figure, who I quite like in the movie, he's kind of a big part of why it's quite easy for the kids to kind of be distracted. Like, he is one in Ghibli. You haven't seen it yet, Alex, but cute dads with a nerdy aesthetic is kind of a thing. You're going to see 10 more of these guys.
Excellent.
Coming up in the series. Hardworking. Tatsuyo is his name in this film, the girl's dad. So he has a lot of on his shoulders. He's just moved to this house in the countryside that is literally falling apart. So he has to commute to the city to work every day by bus, while raising these two girls and keeping them distracted. And he does everything in his power to frame the move as like a fun adventure, turning like negative things into positive things. You think about that storm that comes late in the night, and and they all go in the bathtub together, and kind of he kind of cuddles them and keeps them safe. Taking, and he does everything in his power to frame the move, like I said, as a fun adventure. But he takes Mei, his youngest daughter, at face value when she comes to her older sister and dad with so much conviction and declares that she's seen Totoro, and that he's real, that she leads both of them back to the spot where she found him. And obviously he's nowhere to be seen, and they laugh and they jest. But May gets really angry and she starts yelling at them. But the dad, Tetsuyo, just comes down to her level, smiles, and lets her know that he believes her. The movie is just filled with moments like these, and it's almost like this little guidebook if you ever want to be a future aspiring parent, to give children agency and let them know that they're not just these nuisances that are in the way.
I did like the moment when they're waiting for him at the bus stop, and obviously he's late, and Totoro kind of that is there and looks after them for a moment. And,
the bus stop scene's great, yeah.
The bus stop scene is brilliant, but I think it's like after that when they're like, Totoro was here and he like looked after us, and he's like, well, let's just like go to the forest and thank him then. And so that was just like a really sweet moment. Like, you're right, he never once thinks that like they're either making it up, or if he does, he's happy to kind of indulge them because it's, you know, at this point in time, it helps them feel better.
And it's it could be, you know, it's utopian to think of parents being like that, because we all know the reality is parents would probably just, if it was my parents from or anybody else's parents, I'm sure they would just get frustrated and be like, well, you know, come on, we got to get home, we got to do this and we got to do that, and be.
I think my parents might have indulged me on my imaginary friends.
Yeah,
when I was very young. Well, I think they indulged me a little bit.
Well, you're I can't relate to that. But I
don't think they would now.
But I think they would. I indulge you all the time.
Maybe I've just got that kind of face. Like, let's just go with let's just let this guy be happy. Poor guy.
Poor guy. Yeah, he can't be very happy. Yeah, no, I can't relate to that at my own level, but I in a way that makes me almost more empathetic to these scenarios and like makes me want to be that person whenever maybe that position is thrusted upon me in the future. Who knows? Watch this space. But I think you can't go around the fact that this film is 50% a sensory experience, I think. It is about the visuals. It is about the countryside. The music. The cat bus.
The cat bus. That's my favorite. I love the cat bus.
I was going to ask, are you more cat bus or are you Totoro? But your cat.
I love the cat bus. I also remembered it being a lot more kind of exploring weird worlds, which it really isn't. It is kind of just the cat bus and Totoro and a few of those little dust ghosts.
Yeah, and like even Totoro doesn't. He comes in about half an hour into the movie. Yeah. And Cap, you know, shows up two or three more pivotal parts in the movie.
Yeah, he doesn't show up that often, does he?
Not at all. Yeah, and I love the music. Yeah. Again, by Joe Hisaishi, brings just so much charm. That track, The Village in May, which accompanies the family as they move into the countryside at the beginning of the film, really just sets the tone, like introduces all the side characters as they pass them on the roadside and just gives you time to settle in and breathe in the country air. And that scene I mentioned briefly earlier, well, you mentioned briefly when they were waiting at the bus stop at night. And the score, instead of being like fully orchestrated, it's more experimental and imitates the environment with the rain dropping down and the little frog croaking next to them. It's almost like this 1980s version of what they do in like Disney's Bambi, where it's like everything is the music evokes the seasons and the time of year and everything. And then of course you have some actual songs in this movie by Asumi Inoue, who has done songs in Castle in the Sky. She does like the credits song in that, and Kiki's Delivery Service. So yeah, it's all going on. Like the movie starts up with an open title card of May marching with I forget what the song's called again. It's a terrible fan, but yeah, it's a really good tone setter, saying that this is suitable for kids, even though we're going to be like dealing with some things that you'll be introduced in about 10-15 minutes. You know, this is a kid's story, but I think it's kind of like the first real animated film that really does cater to both markets and demographics that I can think of, like intentionally. You know, we all can watch Pinocchio or like, you know, Snow White or whatever and enjoy it as adults, but they were always designed to be kids' movies, I think.
Yes, I guess, yeah, the older you get, the more you can kind of empathize with the dad and how he's dealing with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and almost as well know that there is probably like a deep kind of sadness for the health of his wife there as well. And I guess as a kid, if you're watching it, he's just a nice dad. There's more layers to him as you get older, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, and the movie gives you subtle hints into his psyche. There are moments where it's never in dialogue. It's always like he's looking off somewhere, but it's not like, it's not throwing it at you. There's subtle hints that this guy's, he's keeping it together and he's just as worried as the kids are. But I mean, like, kudos to him. I arrive at this shitty house. I arrive at this shitty house that's falling apart.
Oh, it's a nice house.
That's the thing. The whole movie is from the kids' POV. And as a kids, you're like, this is wonderful. This is great. This is the perfect distraction we need. Could you imagine how he's seeing this situation? I like to see.
Oh, and it's haunted. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a great moment because they're like, oh, Dad, the house is haunted. And like his reaction is just, oh, great. I love ghosts.
Yes.
So, it's really sweet. We get the suit spirits that you mentioned. And then obviously they reoccur and they make an appearance in Spirited Away. I think only Spirited Away. So yeah, it's like Spirited Away, that's the Easter egg to Totoro basically. But yeah, they're really cool. I mean, it's such a simple little design. But they're really cute and fun. Yeah. Any other negatives? Because I know is there anything that was just like, I don't get this? Like, because as I get it, because this conversation with this movie comes all the time. You go on Reddit forums or any sort of discourse online, people are like, why is Totoro a favorite? Because a lot of people are the same as you. They're just like, I get it, but it just didn't hit me as one of the most important animated films of all time, which it's declared to be.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I don't know. I can see your point of view. So like, but I mean, the question still stands for myself. I don't really know if I can even say that much negative stuff about it. I just liked it. I just wasn't bowled over by it. Like, it looks nice. It sounds nice. I guess there are moments where it's kind of meanders a little bit maybe, but like it's intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't critique it for that. Maybe
it's a preference then.
Yeah, it was nice. It's just nice to me. It's just nice. I mean, I don't know. Convince me, Chris. Convince me why it's so important.
I'm thinking about, a minute ago we were just talking about the environments, and that seems silly for an animated film. Of course, it's going to look nice and pretty, but I just think that even though this is Miyazaki's probably most stripped down film yet, in terms of characters and setting that we've chronologically covered.
Yeah, that was something I was going to ask, but carry on.
But somehow he just captures the same wonder to me that he captures in Nausicaa as he does like in everyday moments, just running, kids running through the fields, the heavy rain when Satsuki and Mei are waiting at the bus stop, even the opening scene when the two sisters are exploring the new house for the first time. That's a wonderful scene. And I'll be honest, watching this again really just evoked nostalgia within me. Like, even though I never went through the same experience that these girls went through, I just kind of feel like watching this movie feels like returning to like an old family album or something like that. It feels like looking back at a memory. And maybe my memory of that memory is more populated by good than it ever was. When you look back on something very fond, and you probably paint it way in better light than it actually ever was. It's kind of one of the beautiful things about memory. And the brain represses all the bad stuff, if there is any. Hopefully you don't have too many bad memories in your own life. But there's just something about it. And when I think about the movie, I just think about sunshine. I think about all the greenery. I think about the big tree, the old falling apart house, the girls. It feels timeless. I feel like all these movies that we're getting now, these 3D animated films that are great and everything. I like Pixar, I like Disney, I like DreamWorks, but in 40 years, are those films going to really hold up? I don't feel like Totoro will ever age. And I think that's the beauty of Ghibli and hand-drawn animation in general, is just that it's timeless. And it feels, even though this is set in the 50s, this film, it's almost irrelevant. It's almost irrelevant to me.
Yeah. No,
I don't know. It is a vibes thing, and we've made that a really clear conversation on the show pretty recently in episodes, that, you know, there are certain films out there you either just, that's my aesthetic, or it's not. And sometimes that opens you up into falling for these non-linear stories a little bit more. It's the same with the BFI films we talk about. We're talking about, you know, we're talking about Bergman films, or, you know, we're talking about, you know, things like Solaris or anything like that. Or Jean-Luc Godard even. It's nothing that the stories are there. We can see it. But if you don't gel with the type of storytelling, which you can't access that other plane that other people seem to be accessing. Yeah.
Which I know you struggled with Godard.
I've struggled with Godard.
I mean, so have I. I've probably only liked about 50% of what I've seen of his stuff.
I mentioned before, going off a tangent, but love Alphaville. I think I loved Breathless. I think I remember really liking that one. But yeah, there's just some of these filmmakers, you're just like, maybe in another 10 years, it will just hit. But I get it. Of all the films that we were going to discuss, Alex, in the Ghibli Marathon, I think this was the one I was most certain of, where I was like, I think he's going to come out about halfway. So,
I think when I watched Spirited Away again for the BFI films, I came out more positive on it. With My Neighbour Totoro, I would say I'm like pretty much the same as the first time I saw it. I like it, and it's not much more for me.
Annoying kids, right?
Yeah, they can be. Which I feel harsh as well, because by the end of the film, you really do feel for that kind of, or at least for Satsuki's kind of fear that she's lost May. And obviously that moment where they find a shoe in the pond, and you're like, oh God, is the film going to go there?
Yeah. And it's like, it's not her shoe.
Yeah. I know you just,
it's
like,
another child.
Yeah, you get all that fear, and but yeah, no, I do. It is nice. It is a really nice film. Well, you say this is one of Miyazaki's most stripped down films. In the kind of stuff that's coming up, is there anything that feels kind of similar in vibe to this?
I think so. You're kind of going to get two modes from now on. You're going to get pretty hardcore fantasy, like characters that exist in purely fantastical worlds, and they're not somewhere between the two. I think Totoro is the outlier in that effect, and then what you're going to get is quite a lot of slice of life films that have no fantastical elements. These are mostly pretty much all Takahata projects. Even a couple of later Miyazaki films that plant themselves more in reality, even though they don't have any fantasy in them, he kind of has a sensibility about him that even the everyday he likes to inject it to make it feel magical. As strictly a blending of two worlds, I'm pretty sure this is the only one. Let me look at our schedule of Ghibli films to come out, because I might be shooting myself in the foot there. Yeah, I'm looking through this. Okay, no, right. There is one. And anybody listening, I've sent Alex, it was Alex's birthday the other day. We should have opened up the show by saying, mate, happy birthday, by the way.
Yes, but I mean, we don't know when this episode's coming out, so don't worry too much.
Well, for Alex's birthday, I was going to send him a copy of Grave of the Fireflies, but it was unavailable. So I sent him a copy of Porco Rosso, which is one we'll be covering up in a few episodes' time. Yes. And that one exists between the worlds.
Gotcha. Very funny that on the, like, I mean, maybe this won't be funny in the future, but the back of the Blu-ray says like as thrilling or as romantic as Casablanca and as soaring as some other kind of very sophisticated film. And then I look at the front of the cover. It's a pig in a with a mustache in a plane giving me the thumbs up. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I'm not even gonna fucking lie to you, man. The blurb's not lying.
It's a pig in a plane.
It's a funny and sophisticated movie. It is a Japanese version of Casablanca. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man! Well, we've got a few episodes to record before we get to Porco Rosso, but I'm looking forward to seeing the pig in the plane film that's as sophisticated as Casablanca.
I'm sure Miyazaki didn't put that on the bad. Disney did. It's okay. It's not his fault.
I'm just being a dickhead. It's all good.
Well, if that's all, I think we've pretty much covered Totoro pretty extensively. If you haven't watched Totoro by now, I think just go ahead and watch it. I think it's great anyway.
It's worth your time, even if I don't know anybody who dislikes it. I just like the internet either seems to be in love with it or like, yeah, that's fine, but I don't like fully understand the buzz, which is where I am. I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's good.
There you have it.
I'd put Nausicaa back on.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's like a purist answer right there. Alex is not a Miyazaki OG, so he has the right to say that. Okay, should we get on with our segment for the show, Alex?
Do it.
I usually like to do a Ghibli-related quiz or something related specifically to the film. This sort of is, but sort of isn't. Only by the title alone. And it's, I call this segment Totoro or Totono.
Oh.
That took me 1 minute.
Yeah. Were you panicking?
I was panicking, shaking.
You're like, shit, I didn't do the trivia for this episode.
Actually, I was so devoid of creativity. I'm going to say it. I recruited Lauren and she came up with the quiz.
Brilliant. Well, it should be good then.
So basically, remember the time I did a quiz about castles? Is it a castle or is it not? Well, it's kind of pretty much the same thing, but is this a Ghibli creature or is it just a real life creature?
Okay. So Totoro, if it is a Ghibli creature, and Totono.
Yes. So Totoro, if it's a Ghibli creature from one of any Ghibli film, or Totono, if it's a real creature, or, it might be just some mythical creature out there in the world that's in some sort of, country's mythos. It's not Ghibli anyway. Okay, so the first creature that I have for you, Alex, number 1, this creature is called Tororo. Tororo.
I mean, it doesn't sound like anything in the real world. So I'm going to say it's a Ghibli thing. But it would be weird, but maybe it's like the brother of Totoro. I don't know. So I'm going to say Totoro.
So this is Totono.
Oh.
Remember I said there a minute ago as well that it could be any type of animal or mythical creature? No, it could just be anything. Oh, I forgot that this is actually a Tororo. Sorry, Tororo. Oh my god. Is a Japanese food made from grated yams. Tororo can kind of come in a soup or a broth. Okay, so number 2, Omu or Om.
Oh, I know the Oms.
Yeah,
Totoro
from Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Alex's favorite Ghibli film so far. Number 3, Kirin. Kirin. Kirin.
I'm going to say Totono.
You are correct. A Kirin is a mythical creature from Japanese folklore, often depicted as a dragon/unicorn hybrid. Going on to number 4 now, Kodama.
I'm going to say Totono.
This one is Totoro, actually. It's not your fault. It's from a film you haven't seen yet. But
yes, I assume that might happen.
You'll get to know what a Kodama is whenever we finally watch Princess Mononoke.
Gotcha.
Number 5, Makuro Kurisuke.
That sounds like a person, so I'm going to say Totono.
Totoro.
Oh, for goodness sake.
It is from My Neighbour Totoro, and it is an alternative name for the suit sprites.
An alternative name? Are you kidding me? All right.
It's the Lisan Al-Gaib of suit sprites.
Okay, whatever.
So, well, you didn't look up the alternative names of the suit sprites on the Wikipedia page after you watched My Neighbour Totoro?
I clearly missed that one.
Okay, number 6. Quokka. Quokka.
Say it again.
Quokka.
Use it in a sentence.
Oh no, there's a quokka.
Totoro.
No. A quokka is a marsupial, often called the happiest animal in the world. Have you ever seen these guys before? They're really cute. They're like they live in Australia, and they live on a beach, and celebrities usually get selfies with them because the creatures are so docile that they let people go up to them.
How do I spell it?
You spell it by quokka.
Oh, okay. Quokka. Oh, yeah, those little cute things.
They have like their resting face is a smile, basically.
Yeah. Oh, they are sweet. They are sweet.
Cute. Very cute. Number 7. This one is called Baku. 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 Baku.
Totono.
Correct. A Baku is a creature from Japanese mythology again that is said to devour nightmares. Absolutely. Number 8. Haku. Haku.
Totoro.
Totono. So the river spirit that helps Chihiro in Spirited Away. So it's a creature. It's not a creature.
Yeah.
Yes, so he's our second kind of main character in Spirited Away.
The problem is when you watch the subbed films, you don't always know how to pronounce the things that you're reading.
Does that not help you a little bit more? The visualization not help you keep it in your memory?
Sometimes, but sometimes when somebody says it out loud and you go, oh, that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like whenever I give you those Mistborn books, I listen to the audiobooks as well, and I'm so glad I did, because I would have said half the characters' names wrong.
Interesting.
Number 9, Tanuki.
Totoro.
Correct. So this is from an upcoming Takahata film, Pompoko. I think this film is going to make you go, what the fuck, by the way, whenever you see it. I'm really interested to see. It's the hundreds of beavers of the Ghibli canon. So Pompoko, but Tanuki is also, it's both. It's also the name of a real animal, which is a Japanese raccoon dog, which is what the movie is also about. And last one, Alex, we finally got there. Etso Momonga. Etso Momonga.
Totoro?
You sure?
Yep.
Totoro? No. This is also cute as hell and looks like it comes from a fantasy film. It is a real flying squirrel native to Hokkaido, Japan.
Say it again.
Etso, so E-Z-O.
Yeah.
Momonga. Very cute.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Big eyes. Very
yeah.
Oh, wow. Very cute.
They don't look real.
Yeah, very cute. Oh.
So, I mean, if anything came from today, you've learned the names of 2 really cute animals.
I will not remember.
I will get you an Etso Momonga calendar for Christmas this year.
Along with a quokka.
A what? Quokka.
A quokka.
Can you use that in a sentence, please?
Oh my God, I just got a cute photo with a quokka.
Very nice, Alex.
Thank you.
Well, is there any other business, or will we see you again, Alex, next time where I try to fanboy and convince you to like the things that I like?
Well, Chris, you need to introduce Grave of the Fireflies to me as if we're at a film festival so that I can go away and watch the film.
Okay. That would mean that I need to get the synopsis up again and just read that, right?
No, you gotta sell it to me. Sell it to me. Why should I be looking forward to seeing this film? Unless you don't like it, of course.
Okay. No, I absolutely love this film. But so its legacy definitely speaks for itself. It is a very difficult film. It is set during the Second World War in Japan, and it's from the perspective of a young brother and his even younger sister as they try to survive the perils of being, on their own out in the wild during the Second World War while Japan is falling apart, and they go through trials and tribulations. And I really can't give you more than that because it will be spoiler territory, but it's definitely a different flavor of war film that we're used to and a perspective that is very limited in cinema that we don't usually get. And using the medium of animation, I think, really does things that can be really creative. And it's not as showy as a Miyazaki film. It's a lot more grisly. And I wouldn't recommend it for kids. I wouldn't recommend it for children, actually.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
It's also my first Takahata film, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that mean anything?
Well, Takahata obviously was a partner and Miyazaki produced Takahata's work. Vice versa, Takahata would do the same. But they were complementary to each other because they had completely different styles of filmmaking. So they kind of facilitated different tastes and different appetites from what Ghibli could achieve. And Takahata definitely had more out there approaches to animation. His animation is a lot more stripped back. So a lot of the times you'll see in later films that he does that scenes will be just in vignettes where we'll get sort of white borders where things are quite focused in the center, almost like watercolor. Grave of the Fireflies does resemble a bit more of a bigger budget affair, but he is more interested in simplicity and trying to find humanity and real characters within a story as opposed to, creatures and all sort of stuff that we get from Miyazaki. Not saying that one is more valid than the other. It's just a completely different style of filmmaking.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Well, you've sold it, Chris. I'm very excited to take this kind of next turn into the world of Studio Ghibli and make our way towards The Boy and the Heron. So, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Very good, Alex. Look forward to it.
So that has been the episode for this week. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating or review. We do really appreciate it. And if you'd like to keep up to date with us, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Film Angle.
We also have a Film Angle playlist. If you want to listen to what we listen to, you can find that in the show notes. Be sure to catch us next week for more cinematic discussions. But for now, that's goodbye.
See ya.
See you, Alex.